Hi everybody, this is Steve, D9 Games. The Timbersprout 5 make it to Wurmwood, and it's the beginning parts of winter, so they thought they were out of the woods with the worm that liked to visit every fall. They've been here for well over a decade, so they felt like they had a system down. But nevertheless, the Timbersprout 5 were in need of a rest. If you remember, they were not able to rest at the Goblin Lair. So they kind of limped their way into Wurmwood, looking for rest. Not the best of relations with the Wurmwoodians, but they get in here, and sure enough, as they were making preparations for winter, there was a worm attack. So still not quite out of the woods with the fall. And as you might know, and maybe you don't know, in Wurmwood, they have to deal with these worms that come every fall. And they have their babies there, they feast, they do their thing, but this last worm made a last minute attack on Wurmwood. So the Timbersprout 5, their goal, if you remember, Edward is trying to get them to the Ganahl Island to deal with this orange elixir issue and the vampirism that may be running rampant. The Colt Castle, Edward was trying to see if they had any antidotes left. They said that they didn't, but on the way out, he had a private meeting with the cult leader, and he was able to give him one of the several he had, but telling Edward he only had one left. Edward has one vial. The rest of the Timbersprout 5 do not know that he has one vial of this antidote. But anyway, back here to Wurmwood, they try to get rest. They're able to make a deal with the Wurmwood folk to help them make their last minute preparations to get them ready for the winter in return for information on where to find a guide. They did point them toward the coast, the west coast of Wurmwood, where there could be a guide found and transport to the Ganahl Island. But first, they had to deal with the battle with the worm and all the worms' little spawn here. So you can see the little mini D6 clears are the worm spawn. They're popping up, and what the heroes do not know in this battle is if they attack a spawn, the worm mother will attack them. So I think at one point they were able to find out that was happening, so they said just leave the spawn alone. We'll see if we can get this worm to go back into the ground where it came from. You can see Sam is up on the worm's head, being the little agile monk assassin that he is, and battle ensued. So at the end of this, they continued to help them prepare for the winter, and then they were off because of the sense of urgency of getting to the Ganahl Island. They were off to get a guide and a boat. Now, from here, they went to the coast. They came across a dock with several different types of boats. So there was like not all the same build. There was like a small makeshift raft type boat. There was a boat with dragon head carved at the front, very, very skinny, with shields off to the sides and oars. There was another ship that was much larger, much wider. So different styles of boat here, which it drew intrigue from the party as to why these different types of ships were here, because this dock really had nothing to do with trade here at Wurmwood. And as they were investigating, failing an insight roll, they were surrounded by lizard folk. So they have zero communication. Nobody speaks lizard. The lizards don't speak common. They battled on the beach, and many of the lizard folk retreated. So it became yet another battle on the beach, and they were still concerned with getting to Ganahl. They were able to get some of the Wurmwood folk to help them on their journey. They got somebody who was able to navigate a ship, a couple of fighters, some scouts, and so that could be why the lizard folk retreated, because of the size of the group. They took the largest ship, which is not the fastest ship. They didn't know this, but they took the largest ship so that they could set sail with all their gear, and about a dozen or more of them off to the Ganahl Island. Now remember, winter is at hand. The seas were rough. There will be a battle. Next video will be a detailed running of the sea battle, which I could show you how I do that. But for now, this is just Timbersprout 5, Season 2, Session 3, where they go from the occult castle into Wurmwood. They help them defeat the worm. They gain some help on their travels to Ganahl. And remember, Edward has just the one antidote. So, back to the ship. They get on the biggest one. They set sail. Seas are rough. And we'll find out next week what happens as the lizard folk regroup, get on the fastest ship, and take the battle to the sea, where the lizard folk have their advantage. And we'll see next time how that goes down. But this is basically the happenings of campaign Timbersprout 5, Season 2, Session 3. They go into Wurmwood, out to the sea, and next time I'll show you how I run the battle on the water. All right, everybody, until next time. Peace.